Good afternoon. Welcome to the Everton News Daily. Listen, before we begin, just want to comment on the awful news that's happened this morning. Diogo Jota has died in a car crash, and absolutely
shock.
Yeah, I don't know what you say really, but other than obviously thoughts and prayers are with his family, his wife and his young children, and his brother, obviously his brother and the rest of the family. So terrible, shocking news for a young man, 28 years of age, to lose his life.
No age at all.
Tragic circumstances, and there's not really much you
there
can say,
isn't.
is there?
I mean, we're Blues, right? But when I saw the news pop up on my phone, genuine shock, because it's just inevitably it's out of the. No, I didn't mean it this way, but I'll say it's out of the blue, isn't it? And you think, oh, and then you immediately think, married a few weeks ago, a couple of young kids, and his brother, so his parents.
Yeah,
it's just sons, the ripple effect is massive, and it ripples out from Liverpool as a club because he played for them to us in the same city, rest of the Premier League, rest of football. There'll be some silence at the women's Euros and stuff. In respect of him, it's just shocking, absolutely shocking.
Terrible news, and I think everyone in football will be shocked by it and saddened by it, and hopefully send all their love and best wishes. But I know it doesn't amount to much, but hopefully in the weeks and months it'll be a little bit of comfort to his not much, I understand that, but to his family. So rest in peace. Awful news that we've received this morning. Moving on back from a nice break. Are you feeling refreshed?
No, it's sticky here, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not as hot as where you've been, is it?
I think that's become now. I mean, we did it last year, didn't we, for the first, that length.
Is that going to be your...
I think that's it now, yeah. That's it. Every I'll call it season, because they're not years, are they? They're seasons, really. So when the season's finished, bugger off.
Have a little break.
For 4 or 5 weeks or something, and then...
Recharge the batteries.
Yeah.
With what's been going on, obviously, in the Everton sphere, since you've been away, obviously finished the season, you were up at Newcastle, we beat Newcastle up there, it was a great day, and you went away, and we got Carlos Alcaraz sorted.
We did.
That was done, which was really good. And then there was some appointments that Everton made, that were announced a few weeks ago, the recruitment. On the recruitment side of it, or a recruitment team, if you like, and people who've come in. What have you made of those?
Which ones, sorry?
Like Howard coming in and Nick Hammond.
The external hires.
Yeah, who's in charge of all of the negotiations.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Then we've got James Smith back, he was here many moons ago, but he's back. We've also got Cox from Manchester United, who
is he the one on
is very, very, very highly rated, and I've had really lots of real positive reports from people who work with him.
I mean,
about him.
We're doing a BWB tomorrow, aren't we? So we'll keep our powder dry. Some of that.
But just a little.
But I am going to write some stack about it, because particularly in and around the space of, clearly we no longer have a director of football because it's now done, and a small C. committee based, and I'm going to write an article, and I've been reaching out to the people who we know in the industry who know exactly how it should work. And I'll write an article to see how all these faces or names or both fit into how things should be done as a best practice thing. But the BWB stuff we've talked about in the past was, and it's quite common, when you get a new chief exec in a non-footballing industry, then I think the staff, I quote, and it might be way out of date now, but it's probably ballpark correct, is that when a new chief exec comes in, 75% of the direct reports to the old chief exec are gone within a year, because inevitably chief execs want the people they know and trust. A bit like a manager coming in, you very rarely come into a club that's winning everything, don't you? So that you've been recruited because things need to be made better. And we talked around, and consistently have talked around, what roles need to be fulfilled at board level, we'll call it, or certainly direct reports to the chief exec. And I think, and I was listening to the live yesterday, this is in some respects low-hanging fruit. Those things that should be done. And it's about outcomes then. Perhaps we'll talk about that. But they've done a good job so far. I mean, clearly there's a smattering of people Angus knows, ex-Leeds or whatever, even if they've been via Crystal Palace first or whatever it might be. But most of these guys have got good reps, as you say, where they've been or where they are, you know. But they're fulfilling the roles that need to be filled. And I think the football ops guy is still a to be announced type thing, isn't it? And that's perhaps the last one, isn't it? I think, if recall correctly, the core roles you would think the ops guy in and around that, and we still know people who are probably perfect for the job who are not there yet. And I personally would like to see, you know, my, you know, chief engagement officer type role fulfilled, and there's people around who could do that as well. But in the footballing side of it, they're virtually there, aren't they? If not there, totally.
Feels like, and we know that obviously.
Yeah, we've got a manager, we've got a chief exec, we've got digital marketing people, blah, blah, blah. We've got a guy who's going to do all the negotiations once the recruitment team have come up with the targets and all that sort of stuff that the manager's happy with. And that's where the Howarth guy, is it Howarth or Howard? Howarth. That's where he comes in, you know, we're being a data analytics sort of guy, I believe.
Chris Howarth.
Yeah, time will tell whether that makes a difference, because data's data, it's insight that matters, all those sorts of things. And that they have a process, which hopefully Angus will talk on channel about in the fullness of time. And we know how it worked at Leeds, and presumably it'll work in his eyes in a similar way here. And we will have those natural tensions between what the data analytics guys and their identification process has said we should buy, and what the manager thinks we should buy, and you come out with a consensus and you send Hammond off to do the deal. And that presumably brings accountability for certain individuals in certain roles. And therefore, down the track, for example, if we know that we're trying to buy a particular player, then the accountable for getting that over the line will be Hammond.
Yeah.
You know, and if it doesn't happen, it's because he couldn't get it over the line. You know? Rather than just saying everything's the director of football's fault, which would where we've been, you know, since the Mashiri years started and Walsh came through the door. Other people might have failed back in the day. It might have been Bill who failed to get a deal over the line, but it would be Walsh who got the blame, right? So it'll be interesting, and you know, early signs are promising, aren't they? That we are clearly, and I'm not being disparaging using the phrase low-hanging fruit, but the Friedkin group are allowing the experts to do what experts are supposed to do, which is run the show properly. And at the moment, without any pressure on, they're getting all the building blocks in place, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we keep seeing, don't we? We keep seeing other things, Everton are progressing with some other partners. We've had Sheamus Coleman.
Yes.
Announced saying...
Getting deals done is a good indicator, isn't it?
Well, there you go. So, I mean, first of all, Sheamus, what pleased he signed.
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, if there's an Evertonian watching this who thinks Sheamus should have been shown the door, then I'll be immensely surprised.
Well, there is a few
who
think it's just a sentiment. I thought we were getting away from it and seeing these kind of things.
I think sometimes people have preconditioned views about certain things, whether it's ticket prices for expensive hospitality, all that sort of stuff, and individual players often. And I don't think it's sentimental at all. I think there's a transition that players like Sheamus will go through that other players won't go through, and Leighton Baines is sort of in that pipe already, isn't he? And Leighton's gone down the coaching route. Yeah, I don't necessarily foresee in the future Leighton being a manager, but he's always going to be a very good coach, and it's all down to him as he develops, isn't it, about what he wants. But you could see someone like a Sheamus turning into a manager, maybe one day, and he has to do that transition from playing and competing to start every game. And I think if we were just giving him another year just to be a squad player, notwithstanding it, presumably an amount of money that's commensurate with the fact that he's, quote, just a squad player, then it might have a little tinge of, you know, sentimentality about it, great servants, going into the new stadium, etc., etc. But I would have thought, and perhaps you know him a bit better than most, he wouldn't have taken that gig, would he, necessarily? because he's such a genuine person.
I think if he didn't believe he could be on the training pitch every day,
he wouldn't have done it.
He didn't believe he could potentially force his way back in to the team.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have took it.
So therefore it's not sentimental, is it?
And well, I mean, listen, it might be a bit sentimental from David Moyes, but then David Moyes doesn't strike me as
he doesn't do sentimentality either.
No.
But if you've got somebody like Sheamus, who needs to be convinced in his own mind that he still has something to offer as a player, I can't imagine it. What an interesting world we live in, where David Moyes is trying to convince Sheamus Coleman that he can actually play as a footballer. Yeah. Therefore, to me, it minimises the thought that it's a sentimental decision.
Listen, at the end of the day, right, he's there to set the tempo every day.
I like that phrase, because when you said he's there, my brain said tempo. And it's about what this club's about.
What's he about? What's expected of you? This is how we behave here. Drag everyone together in that dressing room. He's got a manager that wants Everton to be the best, whether they get there, but it's a start aiming rather than telling everyone 17 is best, you know. And he can now carry that message, because he's had to carry a message that he didn't necessarily believe in under Rafa Benitez or Sean Dyche. Frank was a little bit different, I think. I think he tried to help Frank in that way, but he didn't believe the message Dyche was putting out, and he certainly didn't believe the message Benitez was putting out. So now he's got someone who feels a bit like he does, a lot like he does about Everton football.
And he knew it was rugby for.
So it's up to him, isn't it? It's a year. He's developing his coaching within that year. Probably be his last year.
That was where I was going.
And therefore, he's got to force himself in.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, can he turn passion and core values that he lives by into... can he enrich it with technical competence around coaching? Yeah, and that's how he makes the transition, right? So he'll do his badges, all that sort of stuff, if he's not done or doing them already. And unless we forget, particularly if you're one of the people out there who think it's sentimental and we shouldn't have done it, the same group of people called Evertonians will think we've got a lot of change going on.
Huge amount.
We want to bring in lots of players. So if we do bring in the 6, 7, 8 or whatever the current smart money is on the number, they're all people who are not Everton players at the moment. So they all need to understand what the culture's about. Some of those players are going to be players with established, credentials of playing in this league, and they're squad fillers as much as anything, I suppose. Others will aspire, like Barry, who we might talk about, who may become the starting number 9, but doesn't even know the country, never mind the city, the club, the culture, and all those sorts of things. And letting your biggest advocate of being this club means everything, who's not the manager, walk out the door and take all that passion and experience and
you want it passed on, don't you?
Absolutely right.
And let's instill a new culture in that dressing room.
Absolutely.
And obviously.
So I have a question for you. Sorry, we can just go for a brief tangent. Sheamus being there, I'm comfortable with him being the club captain. Do you think he should be the team captain? And therefore you have that double thing of there's team captain and there's the club captain.
Well, he is, isn't he, when he plays? But Tarkowski's the captain when he's not playing, isn't he? So
it allows you, in that context, to say there is a team captain and it's James Tarkowski. Because, again, he's coming up for a renewal imminently, isn't he?
For a year.
Yeah.
I think Sheamus is the captain and they all call him that. And when he signed Tarkowski, didn't he, my captain or something like that or whatever. So I don't think Moyes will change it. I think when he's in the team, it's Sheamus, but any other day, it's Tarky. And obviously it's Pickford when Tarky's not there. That's the sort of hierarchy of them, isn't it? Yeah. So maybe, there's no real reason to change the captain, is there? Because it's there. I think everyone respects the
think that's why other clubs...
the 3 that take the armband.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever done it, but why other clubs have that thing, don't they? Of club captain who's not necessarily going to start all the games, and the team captain who is. Yeah. And but clearly... If you have a hierarchy, and that is the hierarchy, if the club captain's on the field, then he's the senior captain, isn't he?
Well, that's Everton, that's funny, because Dave Watson, which when on the tier list last week... I
forgot you have a great memory.
Well, to be honest, this bit wasn't great, because we done the tier list last week. Dave Watson was Everton's club captain, for 2 seasons, and he played about 2 games.
Well, there you go then.
I thought he'd left. So in general, I'm not bad on most things.
So your data bank was he left and he was still there as club captain.
He was captain, but he didn't play.
And he's grinning because he put the tier list together and caught you out.
Caught me and Ped out, didn't it?
It was his first flaw since I've been here when he's got something wrong about
all right, I am.
To be fair, that's good going.
It's all from the memory. That's all. Yeah. But yeah, I forgot about that because he wasn't playing, but he was just around being the captain when no one had an issue with it then. With Sheamus has been involved. So yeah, listen. Alcaraz, because obviously you were at Newcastle for.
No brainer.
Arguably one of his best displays. He was excellent.
The best.
He was brilliant at Fulham when we were there. He turned the game, didn't he? So obviously you were up there. He got the winner, very Tim Cahill-esque. But that one,
great header.
Was a great header, wasn't it? But that was an important one to get done.
I think because Everton fans, and I think there was some debate on X the other day, and I think MOYES had said something in it, and I said something like, "You got to remember, Everton fans live for the minute." And the hour and the day, never mind longer, right? And we want stuff happening. My WhatsApp while I was in the States was full of, I'm getting worried, I think it's July the 1st.
Still is, John. People still are.
And that's just, we're all different, right? So the one that should have been just the easy slam dunk, getting done early, in quotes, I think was important. Because of all the noise around, be just like Everton for someone else to get him and all this sort of stuff. And I think one of the things that Everton isn't particularly good at historically, and it remains to be seen if it changes, is not feeling what fans feel.
Yeah.
The guys on the inside...
They don't know the temperature, do they?
Yeah, the guys on the inside are all really comfortable that it's all going swimmingly and it's just a matter of when we announce it. And, Everton fans are having kittens, And the same applies with other things. What's happening with Ghana, and all this sort of stuff. And and I think you guys talked about on the live yesterday, they're very sensible of, you don't announce 5 things on Monday. Yeah. You do one on Monday, one on Wednesday, one on Friday, or even better, you don't do the Wednesday one until you've totally exhausted the Monday one, and then you kick it again, right? Again. And DCL was buried in that. You saw how big Sky went, and Ped was live on Sky or whatever. So you keep Everton's name in the news all the time because actually that makes it a happening place. And then when you're trying to get some young lad playing in Spain across the line, every time he opens his social media, it's full of Everton stuff. So, yeah, there's got to be a mechanism to try and make it easier for the average fan not to worry about stuff, because and that comes from trust. Right, and so once, maybe this time next year, no one will say, "Well, we're all right. We know what we're doing."
Yeah,
it doesn't have to happen yesterday.
It has got to be built on trust, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that was good, Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then obviously the biggest bit of news so far off the window was Branthwaite signing a new 5-year deal, and big news, that big signing, I think, for Everton, that, and a big statement of intent of where the football club's going.
I knew you were going to use that phrase.
I do. That's what I really believe it. He had Liverpool were knocking on his door. He's got Arsenal. He's got City who were looking, United, Chelsea. They're all the big boys. Want him.
I think, right, and maybe it's just me railing against the phrase statement of intent, right? Because you can state your intent by saying no, can't you, right? But perception, as we know, or we suggest when we're doing our sofa talks, is easier to change than truth. The reality is he's added 2 years to a contract he already had, and he's getting paid a lot more money, right? Perception, though, is where statements of intent comes out, and I totally agree with you. This is a different Everton now. Of course we were robust in the last year or two when some stupid clubs thought they could have cheap pickings and stuff like that. There was still a little bit of noise around whether, we're out the PSR woods and all those sorts of things. And Everton has just said, there you go, bang. This lad who could have said, no, I'm all right, thanks. I'm happy to work, your extra per week, I don't care, because I'll get that when I go.
Well, he'd have gone. If he wouldn't have signed this contract here, he'd have gone this summer.
You would think so, because you don't want it to happen.
Well, Everton would have had to, because they'd have gone, well, hang on, another 12 months.
Absolutely.
we've got a year left, then we're in.
Absolutely right.
So I think it's a huge deal for Everton. And
I totally agree.
And a big stamp of approval from him.
Totally agree.
As well.
And if the lad, which is quite possible, I suppose, has just got £100,000 a week pay rise, then over the next 3 years, that's 15 million quid. So that might mean 15 million quid less we can spend on a transfer fee. But I tell you what, he's going to work worth a hell of a lot more money as you go down that track. And I was talking to some of my mates on WhatsApp, as you do, and and again, that's teeny weeny bit of negativeness, on the way social media works. I bet you there's a release clause, Oh yeah, I do as well. But I'd be really disappointed if it's less than 100 million, right? And we see this in Spain all the time, and Barry Cass's release clause is 500 million euros,
Standard.
And it's just a way of saying, yeah, we've put a release clause in, but you know what I mean? Anything below 500, we gate to say yay or nay. So I'd just love a rumour to start that his release clause is in excess of £100 million. And the Reds can laugh. Yeah, he'd have been the world's greatest centre-back if they'd got him, right?
Well, listen, there's a lot of clubs looking at him.
But he's not, he's ours.
Obviously, Thierno Barry looks like it's moving along.
Here we go. Moment last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, but again, massive pinch of salt, buckets of salt when he eats sweet stuff like that.
His here we goes are normally accurate, yeah.
They used to be. I think the lesson.
It's getting harder now.
Here we go with Kenny Tete.
Yeah, here we go with Tete, with Diaz and Kudus and all.
Yeah,
I didn't know he did a here we go.
He's gone with everyone, Johnny. Massive
did, yeah?
bucket of salt.
He did a here we go, or...
Yeah. But anyway,
okay.
The Spanish media are reporting it, and the French media, they're far more accurate.
Absolutely,
because they're getting it off the player's agent and off the club.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's going to happen. He's on holiday in Miami at the moment because he's been away with France at the Euros. But that looks another positive move by Everton. It's not, again, some people are looking at him and going, touch isn't great and all. Okay, it isn't, but we can work on that. He makes good runs, knows where the goal is, good in the air. But we're not going to get a finished article striker where we are. You know what I mean? We're not going to. When you look around, there's lots of clubs are looking for this mythical striker that puts the ball in the net guaranteed 20 times, and no one does it really. No, hardly any now. So we're going to have to settle for not settle, it's not the wrong word. We're going to have to pursue players who are about potential with hopefully an upside on that potential. You buy him, does well, you sell him, and you make money and you repeat.
People, and I don't know who they are, and it was interesting because when you talk about social media, you hear people saying this platform's crap, it's horrible, whatever. And then I think, well, my stream isn't. You know what I mean? And I think Ped did it yesterday, didn't he? Because he just blanks off all the things he doesn't want to see, mostly associated with the colour red and what have you. So we can't have the desire for our football club to operate smartly in the marketplace, right? Which fundamentally is trying to get hold of players pre-prime who get to prime quite quickly, or the prime in the league they play in. And can they do it in the Premier League, blah, 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 blah. And then immediately just look at the flaws that they have through inexperience and lack of battle hardness and all that sort of stuff. When we do it, right? I mean, the challenge would be, and we talked about it, would be to get this guy for 15 million euros last August rather than 35 million now, yeah? But he scores double-figure league goals next season, and we could probably sell him for twice as much. You know what I mean? So they're all about risk, aren't they? And and if we're planning the dive and diving the plan, I've said it, then you have to go with that, because we had this chat before, you and I. So where's the finished article you could get for 35 million quid then? Who is it? Right? I don't know, do you? You know, people watching this, come tell us who's the 35 million quid article that you would buy instead of buying this potential. Because that's an interesting one. You throw out, Watkins, for example, who's approaching post-prime maybe.
He's nearly 30, yeah.
Yeah, but he scores goals. So even at his age and so on, he's 50 million quid, probably. Yeah, or more. Right? So goal scorers attract a premium. And this guy's shown he knows where the goal is. And then you measure or you bring into your decision-making process the physical attributes, don't you? He has some pace, he's good in the air, he's a big unit, blah, blah, blah. And then your risk profile looks less. If you get rid, when we talk about BWB, if you're going to fail quickly, if we decide in the near future that he can't hack it in this league, which is plenty have come to the Premier League who've been much better than he's been in their other leagues and not been able to do it, haven't they? But we've also had guys who've appeared in the Premier League from nowhere, usually we're playing for Thomas Frank or somebody, who hit the street running, you think, where the hell did they find him from? So I'm cool with it. And I just think we're building a team of giants, so that'll be interesting as well.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? This is the thing is you've got to go for potential, because that's where we are now. If we can make money on them, because that's what the whole thing's got to be. You want them to come in, develop. Now you'd either take the team where you want the team to go, which is near the top, or the player becomes so good that you can sell them for
Big
20
profits.
million, 30 million pound
Oh,
profits.
let's do it again then,
That's what it's about. That's it. Reinvest.
Yeah.
Go again, and that's where we are right now. It's there's a lot of other clubs who are looking for strikers who were finished much higher than us at the moment and don't know where to go for them. So that's where we are right now. And we'll have
where
to see.
do you think? Because again, we do talk about other clubs, and no doubt all of them will be looking at DCL, for example, because he's free of nothing else. But he may go deep into the window before he gets picked up by as a non-first choice type thing. Yeah. Do we know which Premier League clubs were potentially interested in this fella?
In Barry,
Yeah.
West Ham, Leeds are just linked with everyone.
Yeah.
Don't know. I don't know. There's
Well,
West Ham were one that came out.
But your examples, there's a couple, right, who in recent times may have been in and around where we have been, but not where we want to go. You know, if you look at Champions of Europe at West Ham a couple of years ago, type of thing, right? But our team have done a job then on him, haven't they? Not only have we put up the money and stuff, but he's been shown not just the potential. We see the potential in him. He can see the potential in us as well. Yeah. And that's part of it. So interesting. And of course, next year it'll be the time when we want to see, are we getting the next one down the track at the 15 million level? Because we've done all the data, we've done all this, that and the other. Moyes put his eyes on it, or his dad or his sons put their eyes on it, whatever, and say, you know what, and then we take a punt on the 15 million ones. And who knows, maybe that's Chimity already, you know, we don't know, but
that's it though, isn't it?
And then you're into a cycle then, aren't you?
That's what that'd be key, wouldn't it? It was the case of Onana.
Yeah.
Lille went and took him from Germany at 11 million. And then we paid triple what they paid a year later. And he
made money.
He only started 12 games.
And then we made money anyway.
We made money, but we should have got him at 11.
Yeah.
So Everton will be in a good place when Everton can go buying him.
And there's the Dosh.
But he's going there. Or I mean, there's a story out now, and I don't know how accurate it is, that Everton want Wesley Franca from Flamengo, but they're going to loan him to Roma.
Oh,
so they're going to pay 20-odd million to get him.
Yeah.
And then Roma are going to say, because Roma have obviously got issues, FFP challenges for Europe. They've had to, they're in talks, aren't they, about paying money or whatever.
And then we were linked with their right back, weren't we, yesterday?
And we were linked with Shelich from Roma yesterday.
Yeah.
So there could be some jiggery pokery going on there where Everton buy him, pay a small fee or whatever. He goes on loan to Roma with the view that if he does well there, Everton
will bring him to Premier League.
Plays. Otherwise, he just stays at Roma and they buy him off Everton.
Yeah.
There's all of these things that we're going to see, but I would like... Crystal Palace, Daniel said Crystal Palace were looking at Thierno Barry as well.
There you go. Yeah.
Just won the FA Cup in Europe, of course.
Yeah. And are London based.
So, listen, we've just got to...
When
see what
they get it over the line, it looks like good business. And it's the kind of business we need to be doing. And if we're getting our act together on establishing the identification side of the recruitment, right? And seeing talent which we think can't just have them bench warming, but we need to send them somewhere.
Yeah.
And, if you like with Branthwaite, that was off to Holland, right? And if we've got, which we do, have a sister club who might benefit in a different type of league, but we've bought from that league in Betos of this world and stuff like that. So we clearly value people who can perform in that league, can perhaps transition into this one. And if you can do that within the family, even better. So
yeah, see, but we'll know we're on the right track when we do start getting some players who are not for now.
Yeah.
But we get them loans, do you know what I mean? Then we can start going, it's okay, they're looking at something, or they've got a profile, or
I think the next level
whatever.
above that, Baz, is, say that's an age demographic of we're getting them at the right age, therefore the fees aren't huge.
Yeah.
Is we're getting them at that age and the fees aren't huge and they can drop straight into the squad.
Of course, yeah. Well,
So
that's
your
it.
Brentford Brighton
That's
type
it,
thing where they buy to attributes and that can perform in the Premier League. You give them a go, and if they hit the street running, suddenly you've got a 50-60 million pound player on your hands. Yeah. And if they don't, then you send them out on loan somewhere.
Well, it'd be absolutely. I think it'd be really, really big if Everton get this deal done. New striker, French under-21
It's that
striker.
commitment thing, statement of, like you said
They're
before.
doing that kind of thing, everything moving in the right direction, starting to turn it. We need a right winger, which is Mike Raff said. Yeah,
And he's right.
come and get the right wing.
Yeah.
We need at least two. Get them in on the right, and then all of a sudden you start looking at it, and you've got Branthwaite on a new contract, or a new centre forward, a couple of wingers. The next minute people start going, I can see what we're doing, and we are moving forward, and it picks everyone up, doesn't it?
It's good.
Brian Ball says condolences to Jota's family. Time to put rivalry to one side today.
Always.
Absolutely. Finn said, want to say how sorry we all are for Diogo Jota. So sad. Condolences to the family. Daniel Harvey, condolences to Diogo Jota. Paul says, R.I.P. Diogo Jota. All the love in the world to his family. Rivalry goes out the window when this happens. Derek says, horrible, horrible news. There are no words. Hakon says, no matter what, no matter which team, which country, the news about Diogo Jota is terrible. Feel for his family, teammates and their fans. Heartfelt condolences go out to the family and friends of Diogo and his brother, Gary Ward. Saying similar to the Jota family, Mark Blake's his new Premier member here. Welcome, Mark. It says R.I.P. to the Jota family. Tragedy for them. David Eor, the same. Mark McCormick sending condolences to Diogo Jota and his brother, R.I.P. Ethan says R.I.P. to Jota. Jake says not even 30, leaves a wife and kids behind, as well as parents who've now lost 2 children. Sickening, honestly. Absolutely, Jake. Absolutely. Ethan says would like to see some news on a right winger, or a link even. I think we will be ready to splash quite a bit of money on a right winger, which is needed. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a position Everton have needed for a good few years now. Will this be the summer Everton finally solve it and bring in one? Who knows? It's difficult to know. The links aren't there, but like I said yesterday, different bits I'm hearing is Everton are keeping it quite close to the chest, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant news. So hopefully they can sort of get one over the line without, or it only comes out when it's so far down the line it's ready to be done. That's advantageous to everyone.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
If somebody said, because you're now this world leader person who you just wave your wand and things happen.
Okay.
That you can have that right winger we think we need, right? Or you can have someone who's not a right winger but plays in the attacking positions and got blinding pace. Which one would you pick?
The right winger.
Even if he was slow as Dwight McNeil.
But I wouldn't, would I?
No. Because the point is, it's just because the way what you said is we know for years, which we do, that we need this right-sided player. But just popped into my head, the attribute we need.
No, well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We had Jack Harrison and Lindstrom there last year.
That's
Neither
right.
of them are right.
So if we were trying to codify this, we'd say we want a right-sided player with whatever blinding pace means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we can't get the right side to pay with the blinding pace, then the next on the list is the person with blinding pace, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's enough.
That's what I mean. There's enough, but that's how theology must be working, isn't it? And it's really cool that they can keep that to themselves. Yeah.
No, well, there's a few up there, so yeah. Hopefully, we just whoever's involved in
Because
it.
it doesn't have to be a hugely expensive. I know the person comments and says we can throw money at this, but because it's a physical attributes as much as anything else, then pace.
Well, yeah, I think they'd be looking at 2, and therefore you could do
one of
someone
each.
like Tom Fellows in the Championship, maybe 12 million, great crosser of the ball, 21, and then go and get it. We want Bakayoko, me and James, and he'd be about 20 million. So for 35 million, say you could have 2 players who play in that position, slightly different attributes.
That sounds the right.
And that's what I'd be doing.
That sounds the right way to do it to me, rather than all that money on one player.
So, Sean says, afternoon, fellas, welcome back. John, such sad news about Jota and his brother. Thoughts are with the family. Georgie Redmond says, return of the Mac, big blame. Chris Pearson says, great to see John back. Deck English says, for your information, I listen every day, going about my day. Not watch like some creep sitting there watching you all day without ever commenting. Also, R.I.P. to Diogo Jota and his brother. Football is the most unimportant thing in life. Barry says, happy for Harrison to come back, seeing as that we need squad players. At least, unlike new signings, he won't need time to settle in. He averaged 3.26 progressive carries per 90 minutes in 24-25, up from 2.64 in 23-24. Jared Bowen and Morgan Rogers, Cole Palmer produced a similar number. One difference, they all produce goals and assists.
Yeah.
That is the story
The eye
today,
test
isn't
has
it?
to be there as well.
Jack Harrison back.
Is it?
That's one of the stories.
Well, again, if we go back to which we talked about, crikey, it must have been 5-6 weeks ago, so we did it here and I was here sort of thing, is with the numbers that we have to get, there are going, and Michael Keane comes into this, I suppose, there are going to be players who we, in different circumstances, we just let them walk out the door. Thank you for your service type of thing, but who are going to be able to do a role for us, for a year maybe, or whatever. It's when you get one of those players, say Michael Keane, and it's too long, you know what I mean? And Harrison might, just because managers like him, don't they, for the work ethic and all those sorts of things, but he wouldn't be a first choice, would he? It can't be Harrison instead of,
no,
your 2 right-sided players.
My only objection to Harrison coming back is if he's coming back to play on the right or be an option on the right.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's pointless.
Totally agree.
He works hard and that's great. And, he's got good attributes at times and it's good, but he's undoubtedly better on the left.
Totally.
On the right, he has to check back all the time. It's no good. Everton need a change at that. I understand why managers like him, because you know what you're getting off him, and he does all of the hard yard stuff that, the tracking back and putting tackles in. But we're trying to move to a different thing, aren't we? And
so where's that rumour come from?
I don't know. I was seeing it this morning.
Oh, right.
I didn't really pay much attention to it.
Because Leeds don't want him, do they?
No, well, that's probably where it is.
Yeah. So if you can get a good deal because his host club don't want him,
wouldn't be buying.
I'm going to say, then you make it work for you, and if it doesn't work for you, but you'd still be left with to be worth making a decision, we have to be thinking we're going to play him on the left.
But
and there's plenty over there. There's plenty over there already, so he's not going to get a game, is he? So
just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. He'll end up in MLS somewhere.
Steve P says those Wesley reports make 0 sense. Why would we sign a player who cost at least 20 million then loan into Roma when we literally need a right back and he'd be a starter for us? Quite a few clubs want him. He's being linked to Juventus and Brighton. And was being linked heavily to Liverpool before they got Frimpong. Nigel says all news is overshadowed by Jota today. R.I.P. Bruce says sad news about Jota. Graham says hello, Toffees from a rather cold Sydney. Hello, Graham.
It's winter down there, isn't it?
Martin says Sky went all in on Dom leaving, but nothing yesterday about Jared's new contract. No surprise there. Tom S says Everton have updated the squad page on the website, and both Michael Keane and Idrissa Gana Gay are there.
Interesting.
Maybe they're staying. Well, they are staying, aren't they? I think both will sign.
I would think so.
The next, well, the players are back tomorrow for testing, and I think both of them will be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, Idrissa might get a few more days. He played, didn't he, against England and stuff for Senegal. So he might be given a few more days off.
Can I ask you a question? Which is a bit
What
like
for, John?
the DCL debate we had when we were on the sofa last year, which was fundamentally, if he doesn't sign a new contract, don't play him. Remember?
Yeah.
And perhaps, well, not perhaps, me and Ped had a contrary view, but you were very solid on yours. Would you let Michael Keane and Gana Gay, both out of contract, appear in training if they were not committed to staying?
But they couldn't.
That's what I mean.
They can only really train if the insurance wouldn't allow them.
You would think so, because they're not employees.
Well, you can't,
anymore.
because they're not employees.
That's what I mean.
Unless they sign
So
away,
we see him on the grass, on the ground.
Well, it'll be announced, won't
Yeah.
it?
So people are trying to predict when those announcements are going to be made.
Well, maybe today with what's gone on across the
I
park,
think that's a classic.
they might just
You wouldn't
leave
do
it,
stuff today
and
now.
it might be tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
First thing it's announced. That
It'd be while we're recording BWB, won't it?
Possibly. I think it'll be early doors, to be honest.
Yeah.
Jay says, R.I.P. Diogo Jota, a thorn in our side so many times, but hopefully those highs for him will provide his kids with pride in the future and the fullness of time. Jay also says, welcome back, John. Hope you had a good holiday.
Smashing,
Adam
thanks.
says, welcome back, John. Ethan says, Grealish not being picked up by anyone yet gives me a feeling he's coming to us for some reason. I feel other clubs are looking away from him and we'll get him on loan. Could be wrong, but it's just my gut feeling. Well, there's been enough links to us. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on Jack Grealish, John?
When he's playing the way he's capable of playing, the clubs who employ him, their fans love him. But something's gone remiss there a little bit, hasn't there? Maybe it's complacency, the treble, all that sort of stuff. But that is still a talent, isn't he?
Hugely talented.
And I think a bit like other players who are out of contract, if you like, or free agents, this is a long window, isn't it? You know, and that is the type of money that either A, City might be saying to everybody, no, we want you to buy him, and therefore no one's interested. And then it'll become, well, you've got to pay all his wages, and most clubs will go, we're not interested. And eventually, potentially late on in the window, the deal's done and he ends up somewhere else, right? So part of the game here is if our manager would like him in his squad, is you get on the front foot and try and cut a deal, don't you? And maybe it's quite likely, if not, that's going on right now. Or he may have spoken to his mates and said, go back to Villa, but let's leave it late because Villa will get a better deal then. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a interesting. What the hell's going on? Sorry, me laptop's playing up for some reason. Well, just after
the same applies to your Kyle Walker types, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Is he out of contract?
Kyle Walker's got a year left
at City.
I don't know what's happening with my laptop. He's got a year left. Therefore, you'd have to pay a fee for him, wouldn't you?
Or they just want him off the books. Yeah.
Oh, if they want.
But then if he's off the books...
Yeah, but then if he's off the books, then you've got to pay him a big...
Well, that's what I say. If he's off the books without a fee, his salary expectations and contract term expectations then... Yeah. And so these are why these things aren't as easy as they look, aren't they? Really?
Grealish, I don't know who takes him. I think on his day, he's like really, really good, isn't he? But...
Don't know when his day last was, do you?
No, but I think that's more Pep.
You reckon, yeah?
I think you just I think the type of player he is, he's the type of player he is. He's almost like a free spirit who he wants, and that you can't have that in Pep's team. You've got to sacrifice what you want to do for his team. That's why he's been so successful. But some players do just fall out of it. Leroy Sané was brilliant for them. He went. You know, Mahrez still could have done a job. He was gone.
De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne's still could have done a job this season. He got rid of him. Grealish, he just decided, no, you're not doing what I want, so you're done. Doesn't mean Grealish isn't still a top player. I know people have reservations over him, but I think if someone like Moyes, getting older, he's normally good with them kind of people, where players who look like they're on the dip. And he just re-energises them. But listen, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. I don't think he's got a future at City. So, but he's got 2 years left on his contract, so no one's buying him. No one, and no one's paying him 300 grand a week either. So City are gonna have to say, well, we'll have to, pay a third of him to get him out. That's still 100 grand a week for it, which will put a lot of teams off. But they'll have to soak up the other bit, because they're better off getting 5 million a season and for someone who they don't want to use than having to pay him 15 million a season.
And if you have a process that's working for you as a football club, if you're thinking to yourself, for 5 million quid, I can have Grealish in my squad for next season, because you make that 1 year commitment. Of course, mainly, perhaps with the classic, +1 at the end, or all that rubbish, and you re-energise him. You're basically doing a Dele Alli type thing for a player who isn't as far off the beaten track as Dele was, right? And you go, come on, Jack, this is, new stadium, blah, 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 David Moyes, blah, blah, blah. Back in the England squad, World Cup next year, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Just do it. And if you get 1 year out of him tearing it up.
Well, then City, you'd either buy him or City have a chance to sell him to someone else.
Absolutely. And you can do deals even on loan players like that says, and if we finish in this certain position or we qualify for whatever, you get more. And then it starts bringing your fee for buying him into affordability level, because you can think, well, these are all the one-off payments we're going to make. Why don't we just bundle in? It becomes our player. And Northwest, don't know whether that is advantageous, but we're probably the only team in the Northwest who would be interested, aren't we? Because all the others are much bigger and hairier than us.
Daniel Barton says if Baz could wave a wand, he wouldn't have to make that choice. It'd be Dembele from PSG. It'd actually be Desiree Doué, who I said a year ago, more than a year ago, because PSG bought him last year, that I wanted Everton to go and get him. He was an opportunity in the January, and then he carried on developing, and then PSG went and got him. He's obviously just scored 2 goals in the Champions League final at the age of 20 or 19, whatever he was. So they're the players who you look and go and grab him now. You don't. And hopefully this is what Everton start doing better, seeing these talents and going, yeah, let's get him before these get him.
And they're all about risk management, in proper business terms, risk management. And fundamentally, people might disagree if you look at what we've done during that period. I'm guessing that under the old regime, zero risk was the of course, the management instruction.
And also not much room with money. Therefore,
that's what I mean. Risk.
Therefore, you've everything you're getting's got to go.
That's what I mean. Complying with PSR was the risk management objective, right? And unfortunately, some of the deals we then end up doing are predicated on it. We needed to get somebody, and that's when the risk become PSR, and you can satisfy that bit. But if you don't do something, then you're going to be in relegation. Blah blah blah. So coming out of all of that makes everything easier. For the current regime. It's classic. It's like a government, isn't it? If you do the right things, then the people who get in next time get all the benefit, right? But then you've got to build momentum and maintain it. So, goodness. Exciting times, mate. Times.
Oh, yeah. Brian Ball says, my only objection to Harrison coming back is Harrison coming back. Fair
That's
play.
Pretty profound, that.
Fair play. Eddie says, y'all, We should
What,
sign...
the Eddie?
The Eddie.
Yeah.
We should sign Diego Luna from MLS and Cremassi. I was asked about Diego Luna yesterday. Not sure. Not sure he could do in the Prem. Cremassi I do like Cremassi. Bernardeschi, how do I say his name? Let's just left Toronto.
How many players come out of...
The Juventus one?
Yeah, Bernardeschi, yeah. Kev Maloney says SofaScore sent him a notification that Keane and Dom had left. There you go. But that's only because
they're not on a return
they're just
list.
under, they're just under out of contract even. Patrick Agama, he has been good. Excuse me. He's been really good, Gary. He's upward trajectory, hasn't he? He's done really well. Big lad, strong.
So,
he's done well.
Question again, sorry, because you're the elephant man with brains and stuff, memory stuff.
Elephant man to a house.
Which MLS players have come straight out of the MLS into Premier League and hacked it?
Almiron,
Yeah, sort of.
John Duran.
Yeah.
But he's off to Turkey.
That's a weird one, isn't it?
Very strange. Tim Howard,
True.
John
Man United.
Donovan.
He didn't stay long, did he? I mean,
He done it twice though, didn't he?
yeah,
It was only because MLS wouldn't release him.
yeah,
Otherwise he would have.
Dempsey.
Clint Dempsey
yeah,
was there forever.
yeah. McBride.
Brian McBride
Yeah.
with us from Fulham.
But see how far back we're going. So there's not a huge...
but thing, like I say, Almiron's at Newcastle for 4 years, wasn't he? He was a bit hot
failing
and
for
cold.
failing. So small F for a while, and then
And then was very
clicks.
good.
Yeah,
Varying degrees, people like Tim Ream play for Fulham for years
yeah.
before going back. But Duran will be the latest one.
Yeah.
They got him from... Was it DC? No, it wasn't DC. Where'd they get John Duran from? Chicago Fire.
Yeah,
They got
yeah.
him from Chicago Fire. And he was excellent, wasn't he? So it's the physical side of it, because you look at people like Thiago Almeida, who's at Lyon, funnily enough, at the moment, won the World Cup with Argentina. He's 24, maybe 25. So that's Atlanta United. Excellent left foot. It's only slight though, and it's like, could he cope physically with the Premier League? But such a talented footballer.
And the length of the season type physicality.
You know, so you're looking at it and think, you know, and then they've got some good young kids coming through, and you think they could maybe be taken. But people like Alphonso Davies, he's unbelievable. Bayern took him from Vancouver. He's been unbelievable, straight into Bayern's team because he can run. Attributes, physical, powerful, quick. Well, there's a lot of those about. Because what you're getting now is a lot of young South Americans are going into MLS first. Yeah. And then coming out of it. So it's that kind of league where it is a lot. I mean, people who don't watch it probably just think, oh, it's this retirement league or whatever. But it's fast. It's why Steven Gerrard couldn't hack it when he went. It was too quick for him at his age. Still a great player if you give him time. But these kids are running around in 90 degrees heat, buzzing around all over you. And it's why you have to take your hat off to Messi and go, he's still going past 5 or 6 players. Do you know what I mean? Not always, but a lot of times. Suarez looks like he can't walk, but if you give him a chance in the box, he'll still score it because he's got that quality, but the running side of it is gone. So there's little pockets. Wilf Zaha's had some really good moments at the moment, but then other games, they mark him really tight. So it's a decent level. But you want to be getting the 22, 21, 22-year-olds who are full of promise. They're the ones. Other lads who are a bit older, people go, what about him coming in? And you look and think, just don't see it. Don't see them coming over here and being able to do it, you know? Because a lot of them are picked up. Yeah. Same with South America. I mean, James was talking about this last week. It's the same with South American players who are still in Brazil or Argentina at 24. It's like, 24 is not old, but normally the top ones are being pulled at 19, 20, 21. They're taken.
I don't know how you perhaps do because you used to do shows on it, how the MLS works per se.
In terms of what?
Well, why aren't, sorry, maybe they do and I just don't know. Do owners of Premier League clubs, some of them own MLS clubs?
Man City.
Other than Man City,
New York
because
City.
they've got New York City, other than City.
Don't think there is any in other multi-club.
Yeah.
Don't think so.
The reason I ask while you're thinking is because if you're picking up youngsters in South America, clearly always going to be technically good, the weather and all that stuff for North America is not going to be too much of an issue if you've grown up in Argentina, Brazil, whatever, right? But you go into an MLS team, which what you're basically saying is it's a quick league.
Well, it's quicker. It's not Premier League standard.
No, but it's a quick league.
It's the conditions that make it difficult.
That's what I mean. So it's a quick league, but the hot conditions, the humidity. I was at DC's ground watching.
Yeah, you watched the Club World Cup, didn't you?
Watching my team, yeah. But it's a good place to go if you are a Premier League club and you've got an MLS club. So let's drop him in there, see what happens. The language skills will come because and stuff, and then the settling in Northern Europe, particularly in the Premier League, because that's where we're at. Might be eased. I just wondered if anyone's doing it. Yeah. But we don't see, and maybe it's because they're truly elite in Premier League terms, players going from New York City per se, do we, into Manchester?
Well, Jack Harrison went from New York City back to City, but then went to Middlesbrough and back, and then went off to Leeds, didn't he? So he sort of did, but made his mark in England in the Championship. That's right. And then come up with Leeds, didn't he?
That's right.
So you can look at it that way. It's, it's if they're going to if the owners are going to buy them, I don't know. I mean, an MLS franchise is 300 million. I don't know how much it'd be to buy an MLS club. Why they'd want to do it? Yeah. Unless it was they really thought that they could. I mean, there's a lad who's at New York City, who's at Castaños, is it? Castaños, the striker. I think he's at Lazio now. Everton will link with him, actually. Valentin Castaños, is it?
Sounds like it.
Lazio, or he's in Italy.
Is it Brazilian?
And I think he's South. Castellanos, that's it, Castellanos, yeah. Who's Lazio? Yeah. And he was at New York City. Argentina's at New York City, striker. Yeah. And he's good. He's done all right in Serie A, so he's gone straight from there to Serie A, and he's done all right in a few Premier League clubs. I've had a look at him as well. So it's one of them. It's just it's a place to look for these kind of players as well. But and the other thing you'll find is if there is a lot of like US-based players who were kids, they get taken. German clubs are looking at them and trying to take them and get them out. I always liked Cade Cal, but he's in Mexico, I think, at the moment. But he's still only about 22. He's 6'1", can run.
Bit short.
Wide forward, wide, but he's a wide forward. Quick. But we'll see. Castaños, nice one, Benny. So, let's see. Brian Garside says, welcome back, John.
Thank you, Brian.
Also says, would Grealish be a Duncan McKenzie type of signing? One for you.
Don't know what he means. I know he likes Duncan McKenzie, as was for us oldies. Yeah. Not really the trickster Duncan was, but certainly gets people off the seats. And would Grealish get people off the seats? Yeah, probably. At his best. At his best, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I doubt he can jump over a mini, though.
No, that's true. Or throw golf balls over the stand.
Those calves, though. You think he'd be able to get some spring?
I think there's many people on this planet who have admired his calves. I don't know if it's supposed to be an indicator of something. I don't know. But yeah, throw golf balls over a stand was his gig as well.
Yeah,
Duncan.
Fair play. Adam says Sheamus isn't necessarily sentimental, nor is it performance. It's because of everything else he offers. His understanding of the club, his standard, his position between players and coaching, his ability to integrate new faces. It's a bigger picture. Absolutely.
Spot
Adam. Eddie says, I just want an American on the team. Well,
I never picked that up, did you?
No, not at all. On Red Bull, of course, New York Red Bull own Leeds now, don't they? Or part of Leeds, they're in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So
Leipzig.
But they've got Leipzig and Salzburg, haven't
Yeah,
they? Kev Maloney says, run far away from the two lads Toronto have just released. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, Bernadeschi's a good footballer, but he's had other things going on, hasn't he? Eddie says Giroud couldn't hack it in MLS. Yeah, but he is about 39, 38. He's gone back to France, hasn't he? He's gone to Lille. Olivier. He got
as a young
4
man,
in 40, I think.
Yeah, but as a young man, he wouldn't have said he was blessed with pace, would he?
No. The Tiger Man, and
yeah,
there's a few people I know that have... there's a few people who've just basically said LA didn't really play to his strengths. It's Buanga's there, big player, and he likes to hog the ball a little bit. Goes full Beagley. Just doesn't pass the ball.
But can he do backflips?
He might be able to. Never know.
We need a guy who can do backflips, don't we?
To check it. And also just thought then they've got Lucho. What's his name? Lucho Hernandez, is it? Cucho Hernandez, who was at Watford, scored against Liverpool, Arsenal. He was playing for Columbus Crew, and he went off to Real Betis in January, and I think he ended up with half a dozen goals in the half of the season from January to now.
Okay.
He's a good player. He's little. He is only little but sharp. But he has scored goals in the Prem against Arsenal, Liverpool. I think got 5 for Watford in 20 games or something in the Premier League. Then he went off to America and he's gone to Spain. So he was not a bad player either.
Cool.
So they are there. It's just whether or not.
Time will tell.
No, well, that's it, isn't it? But the way the Premier League is, it's power and pace, isn't it?
Totally.
So you've got to really be looking at that. Right. That's us done. One thing to say, go and check out the Inside the Game podcast with Stephen Schumacher, the current Bolton manager. Very good. Brilliant insight into what it's like managing in the game now, as well as his own playing career. Started at Everton and played for like Bradford and Bury and teams like that.
I watched it, yeah. It was good.
Yeah, he's good. He's a very good talker. And
I liked it.
Wants to be an Everton fan.
Yeah, I liked some of the insight, which is about career development. You know, going places because they add to your portfolio of experience, because where you want to go, you've got to have done this.
Of course, yeah.
And, you know, how his agent says, what about this? And why would I go there? Well, these are good reasons, you know.
Yeah,
so it's not all as simplistic as it's a job and you get paid. It's what your end game
and
is.
Also...
And he makes it very clear what his end game is, so you've got to watch it to find that bit out. But...
And the other thing as well, of course, is the insight into like buying a player. And
that was really
good. How it gets to look at and what goes on. I think it was dead interesting. So, Joe Adams, who is not very good. I'm paraphrasing. Cucho Hernandez. Are you saying? I've watched quite a lot of him. He's not bad. But you're entitled to your opinion, as I am, mine. Right? Take it. You know what? Sorry, Jake. No, I seen that link the other day, Gabe. Thingy, the winger from 20-year-old winger from the USA. Seen, it was Minnesota he's at, isn't he? In the US under-20s, I think he is.
What's this, sorry?
There was just links the other day saying Everton were talking to him, yeah. Minnesota.
Maybe he wants someone to listen to Adrian, have they?
Maybe.
Finally.
Cucho, he's been good. He's been good for Betis, and he was good in MLS, and he scored goals for Watford.
You reckon I'm
not saying Everton should buy him, by the way. I think he's a nice player.
Okay.
Scores goals. Yeah, so I don't really know about... I just seen that link the other day, but nothing's really come... there's been like no sort of follow-ups on it. So, we'll see. Right, take it easy. See you later.
Take care.
No, we won't. We'll still be here. It's fine. Buttons are sticking. It's all good. I'll just carry on talking. We'll go at some stage. See you later.
Flash it on you.